This past weekend, the new Running Man movie came out, and it's okay. Bit lackluster, a little bit long, but it's okay. I actually prefer the original, but that's just me. However, one interesting note is a lot of people who are fans of it basically say that this is the more faithful adaptation of the Stephen King novel. Now, it's interesting because I actually don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. I'll give you an example. If you ever read the book Atlas Shrugged, great book, phenomenal book. Even if you don't like Ayn Rand, it's still a book that has a lot of influence within the canon of fictionalized dystopian future type novels, right? But if you've ever seen any attempt to make it into a movie, they often tend to be pretty faithful to that book. And it's terrible because it doesn't translate well into a movie. And that's where I think some things actually are probably better if they're not faithful adaptations. So you have the concept, the core of that storyline, and then you can do with it whatever you want to make an awesome movie. I mean, if you look at Blade Runner, do you really think Blade Runner is adaptable and faithful to, what is it, I Dream of Electric Sheep? I don't think so. I think it's a completely unique storyline that has a basis in something. Even when people have, like, when comic book movies come out, you have a lot of people who are like, oh man, it's not exactly like how it was in the books. It's not the exact same thing, so it's terrible, it's not great. And I kind of go, well, that's probably a good thing, right? Because it's very hard to take 50 or 60 years worth of storyline and compress it down into a movie. An interesting take on this, though, is actually when books are actually written after the movie, based on the movie. Sometimes those are good. A lot of times they're just synopsis of the movie in a fictional way, and you get insights from like characters, thoughts and stuff like that. The most interesting one, I think, is actually Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, because the director, Quentin Tarantino, he also wrote the movie, but he also wrote the book very uniquely in the sense that it supplements the movie. So it does mirror most of the events in the movie, but it also gives you additional context and some insight and some history behind the characters. I just thought it was a unique take, but that's the case where it's not a direct adaptation, the book of the movie or the movie of the book, right? But this is something that you hear often where people are always going, well, the book is better and the movie doesn't do this and the movie's different. I don't think so. In fact, if you look at like Starship Troopers, that book it's a really good book, right? Again, very influential in the canon of science fiction. But the movie's good too. It's completely different. I wouldn't say completely different, but it's very, very different from the book itself. And it's because it takes this core idea and it makes it entertaining for an audience. Because you got to understand too, one of the things is like, going back to the Running Man movie, the one that came out, the people who read that book, there's a core audience, there's a niche audience that reads Stephen King novels or might read dystopian future books. But those people are not necessarily the entire audience that goes and sees a movie, right? So it's important to be able to adapt that to a certain point. So it's just my thoughts. I kind of feel that whenever you have a concept, a really cool concept, take it, make it into a movie, make it as cool, as action-packed, as over-the-top as you need to, make it entertaining, make it intriguing, draw people in. But don't be pigeonholed or pigeon-held into making it exactly like the book is, because there's a lot of things that work really well in prose, like if you want to know the thoughts of a character and how they think about things, that when it translates into a movie, you can't really do it. It just doesn't make a lot of sense. That's not the case with every book. Obviously, there's some really good movies which are direct translations of books, but those are few and far in between. So again, just thinking about the fact that it's not necessarily a good thing to be purely faithful to a novel or book or story, right? Do what you want to do. Make a cool movie. Anyhow, just some quick thoughts. Thanks for listening.